Welcome everybody to the fifth episode of TechTalks. Thank you for coming today. Today we are Raymond, give us a recap of
Alright.
the last
Yeah.
episode.
So from our last episode, we were able to talk with Lorraine Jeng. Uh, she shared with us what it's like working with the U.S. government and the data collection agency. She shared us her experience in dealing with different things in work and how to get a job in the U.S. government. So, and now we are joined by Isabel Bolger.
Hi.
Han?
Hi, Isabel. Welcome to the show. Today Isabel will be presenting her journey on how learning computer science and breaking into the tech industry. So Isabel, take it away.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for having me again. This is really exciting to be able to speak and share my experience. A little bit about me. Next slide. I am from Washington. I'm from Seattle. I go to school at Northeastern University in Boston. People get confused with Northwestern, which is in Chicago. It's also pretty cold in Boston as well. I took AP Computer Science in high school my junior year, and that's kind of where it all started when I started getting really interested in computer science. I realized, when I was in the class, I was one of just several women. And so I decided to get more involved with other women in STEM organizations, such as Chick Tech, Girls Who Code, and I'll touch upon those as well, but also be making this more general as well for both genders. And I really enjoy mentoring other aspiring engineers. I love being able to share my story and kind of helping other people get to where they want to be. I've had so much help in the past through other mentors and people from school, so I really want to give back and be able to share that information with others as well. So next slide. So I just wanted to go over some common myths about computer science. These are things that I kind of assumed when I first learned about the field. One of the main ones is it's basically too hard. It's only for smart people, or I can't do that, right? Like that's for like whiz kids, like really really difficult. Another rumor I hear is like computer science is a man's job, so there's actually a huge gender gap in software engineering roles. There are quite a few less women in computer science, so we're really trying to increase more women in STEM and really reduce that gap. Another funny myth is that computer scientists are nerdy and they don't have communication skills and they're not as social. All sorts of people are computer scientists. No matter who you are, you can be social, you can be antisocial, you can be introvert, extrovert. Computer science is a job for anybody who enjoys it. So I really wanted to talk about these myths because they really do prevent people from succeeding, and sometimes it can be roadblockers if you're so focused on how good you might be or need to be to do your job. And so that's something really important that I like to tell people, that none of this is true, and it's a really great field to be in as long as you like it. Not everyone likes it, and that's totally okay. So but if you are enjoying it and you really like it, but you do find it difficult, stick with it, because it's a great field, and if you're really passionate about it. And I truly believe that anyone can be successful in this field if you really are passionate about it and are really excited to learn and take an initiative when you're struggling. So next slide, please. So where to get started? I started in my AP Computer Science course in high school, but there are so many amazing online resources and books that you can go to if you've never read a single line of code. The first one I like to recommend is Codecademy. It's an awesome online free tutorial place where you can learn how to code. They have instructional videos, articles, and actual ways that you can code and run your tests to see to just learn how to build programs. So it's really great place to start. It's also free, which is really great. Coding Bat, pretty similar idea. I think they specialize in Python, but it's the same idea where you can go and just basically read articles, watch videos, and test your own code and write your own code along with videos. And then Team Treehouse, Some do cost a little bit. So Team Treehouse is another program that has videos for people to learn how to do CS. It's a little bit more expensive just because it's more intensive. But if you're serious about learning, that's a really great place to go as well. We have Udemy and Coursera. Those two, actually CodeRabbit too, they're very similar programs that have videos from either universities or personal people who just like teaching. And you can purchase a course for X amount of money. It does vary. So those are great places to start if you find one that's not too expensive. And then, of course, if you're in college and you have a free elective, try taking the Intro to CS course. Usually it's pretty friendly for people who've never touched code before because they're assuming that when you go to college, you haven't taken AP Computer Science or any other kind of course. So that's a great way to learn as well. But definitely feel free to try anything, even if you haven't started. You know, everyone has to start somewhere. So these are really great options to get going. Next slide, please. And then something I recently did, recently started was doing hackathons. So hackathons are basically 24-hour events where you find a team. You can go without a team, or you can be alone, or you can go with a pre-existing team, and you go for 24 hours. So yes, that means maybe even no sleep, but you basically hack for 24 hours and you work with a team to make a project. It doesn't need to be fancy. It can be any kind of project you want. It can be as simple as complex. But this is a super great opportunity to, one, meet new people, meet other people who are beginners or more advanced and learn from them, as well as learning a new tool and diving into that for 24 hours. And so you'll learn so much during this time. And I get a lot of people telling me, okay, I have never touched any line of code before. I don't think I can go to a hackathon if I haven't done any code before. That's actually not true, because there are so many people who go who are beginners like you, and you know, kind of want to meet new people and just learn from others. You actually don't even need to write code. Sometimes they have projects and people they need to do writing or design or non-technical roles. So it's really a place for everyone to gather and learn. And if you want to maybe meet recruiters and talk to other people to maybe get an internship, which I'll talk a little bit about in the future. It's a great place because they often have booths where recruiters will set up and talk about their company and get to know the hackers. And sometimes we'll even win a prize. That's definitely not the goal of it. Not everyone wins a prize, but it's super fun if you do, and it's a really awesome opportunity. And I didn't even start till 4 years after I started coding, so I started kind of late. But I also have gone there and met people who have never touched a line of code in their entire life. So it's a really great place for everyone to go. Down below in the slide, I just have a couple places to look if you're interested in doing a hackathon. Major League Hacking is the kind of official main hacking organization, and they usually host hackathons at different universities. And if you are not at that specific university, sometimes they will even sponsor you to attend, which means maybe even paying for your flight, maybe helping you get there in some way. So that's a really great opportunity. DevCoast is another really popular place to look for hackathons. And you can, organize, you're going to see 1,000 different hackathons, and you can organize it by location, maybe experience level. If it's online or virtual, you can even do these completely virtual if you can't be there in person. And especially now with COVID, there's actually been more hackathons on that website because so many organizations are doing virtual hackathons, and you can still meet with people using Zoom, and they've done a really great job with facilitating a positive experience even during this time of uncertainty. Hackalist is another website very similar to DevCoast, and hackathonsnear.me. So these are all great places to look and find different hackathons. And I started DevCoast because DevCoast actually keeps a history of all the hackathons you've participated in. So recruiters, if you're applying for a job, you can link your DevCoast URL, and people can see all of the cool projects you've done in the past. even your team members, what your role was. It's a really cool like kind of portfolio of all of your hackathons. So I definitely recommend this is a great place to start if you're interested in learning about computer science. So next slide, please. Another thing I really recommend when you're trying to learn about computer science and get your feet wet is doing projects. And I know that sounds like kind of daunting to do a project in something you've never done before, but that's a really great place to learn. And when people tell me, okay, I don't really know what to make, I don't really know what would be easy enough or something that I could do, I like to tell them, like, find something that you're passionate about. If it's a cause you care about or a cool idea or product that you want to make, that's a really great place. And I find that when you're passionate about a project, like the concept of it, you're just more motivated to work on it and be excited about it. So, sometimes in school you're working on a project and it's kind of boring or it's not very fun. Like, it's harder to feel motivated. But if it's your project and something you're passionate about, I think that's a really cool thing to have, and also forms a really great story around the project that you're making. And I find that web apps and mobile apps are a good place to start when you're trying to find something to make for the first time. I wanted to reiterate, too, that a project that you make, it doesn't need to be complex at all. It can be as simple as Hello World. So I have a little photo at the right here where all you can see is this app, and it says one text. It just says Hello World. And that's technically an app. That's technically a program. You need to write code. You need to set it up. And even though it looks simple, it's still something worth talking about and sharing with other people because it's showing you have an initiative to really learn something new. And even if it's simple, like, you'll definitely build up, and maybe you'll make additional text in addition to Hello World, and it'll just build up from there. So just no matter what you're making, like, don't worry about how complex it is or what people will think of it or anything like that. It's a really great place to just learn and work on something you're interested in. And then the last thing I wanted to say is on this slide, if anyone's heard of GitHub, GitHub is a website where you can basically post your code. So if you make a cool project, let's say the Hello World application, and you wrote some code, and that's really exciting, you can publish that to GitHub, and you can share it with basically anybody. So it's a little bit complex of a website, but it's a really great opportunity to showcase what you've made. And there are so many great tutorials on YouTube, and I can even go over some like ideas on how to get started with GitHub. But it's a great place to showcase what you've done and really broadcast what you're capable of doing, so recruiters can see what kind of things you've been working on. So next slide, please. Now on to kind of, once you have some ideas on coding and you've done a little bit, your next goal might be to kind of apply what you've learned through the projects or classes, online courses. So networking is a really great opportunity to do that, to meet new people that you can just learn from and maybe even get an internship through. So LinkedIn is a huge one. I definitely recommend creating a LinkedIn account, even if you haven't done a lot of experience, done many projects, or you don't have much experience, like just putting things that you've done in the past, even non-related to what you're interested in the future, but just something there to show, to have credibility, will allow recruiters to see what you're doing, and you can build up your LinkedIn portfolio from there. And then your school will have definitely a lot of career opportunities and advice. I'm sure most schools will have a career center, or even professors, your own classmates. Really utilize that network. It doesn't matter where you go at all. It doesn't matter your school. Just people there will have connections, and from there you'll meet more people. And it's just a place to grow and expand your network, make a new friend, and it might help you land an internship in the future. Cold emailing recruiters. So this kind of goes along with LinkedIn. But this can be a little bit daunting. But the idea of cold emailing is basically finding a recruiter on LinkedIn. You can do that by literally just searching recruiter at so-and-so company, or just recruiter. And you'll find someone, and you can just email them just straight off the bat and say, hi, I'm Isabel. I'm really interested in your company because so-and-so, and I've done this and this, and just kind of introducing yourself, which sounds kind of daunting, for sure. And it can be a little nerve-wracking emailing something you don't know before, and just kind of having a pitch for yourself. But it's a really great opportunity to just kind of practice that networking skills. The worst thing that happens is they don't respond, or they say, oh, sorry, we aren't interested in moving forward. But either way, you're going to learn something from emailing recruiters and kind of getting to know them. And then, of course, hackathons. It's a great place to learn, to meet other recruiters, and just other people who are passionate about tech. So definitely a great place to be. Next slide, please. Here are just some quick resume tips I had. There's a lot more information besides just these bullet points, and maybe in the future I can go over some more tips. But resume is actually really important because it's the first thing most likely that recruiters will see. So we want to ensure the formatting is good. And if you didn't know what a resume was, resume is just a document. Usually it's one page, and it just showcases everything you've done. So some basic information like your school, kind of what classes you've taken, maybe some of your work experience, volunteering. You can customize and put whatever you want on your resume. So it's just a great place to kind of showcase what you've done. And after recruiters review that resume, they might move forward with you in the interview process. So the first bullet is ensure the formatting is good, because it's the first thing people are seeing. You want to make a good impression. So spaces and tabs or extra spelling, grammar mistakes, you want to make sure it's pretty polished. And only include important information on your resume, which kind of goes along with keep it to one page. I'm sure you've done a lot of cool things, and which is awesome and really great. But if it goes past one page, it might be hard for recruiters to digest all of that information on your resume. So that's really important. And surprisingly, when recruiters look at your resume, they spend on average 6 to 10 seconds looking at it. They spend a very fast amount of time looking at your resume. So it's important to really only put the important stuff first and keep it short. But it's a great place to really showcase what you've done. And I like to say, anything on your resume is fair game. So sometimes people will put stuff from years ago, or things that aren't even true. And I recommend not doing that, of course, just because, they can ask you and follow up with that in your interview. So if you put something you haven't done before or forgot about, or maybe didn't really have that much knowledge on, if you say, I'm really good at Java, but you haven't actually done Java, then in your interview, they might ask you a question about that, and you might not know. And so you wouldn't want to be in that situation. And then the final bullet point is there are actually a lot of cool resume reviewers like online. So actually Word, I think, has like a resume formatter. So if you put in your resume, it will help you format it and give you feedback. There are tons of other programs like that online. If you just search resume reviewers, it should pop up. But that's a quick, easy way to kind of get some pointers here and there. It'll be about formatting, maybe wording and phrasing. So it's pretty handy. But yeah, next slide, please. All right, so preparing for technical interviews. So technical interviews are basically the kind of interviews a computer scientist will get. You'll have kind of a behavioral and technical question, so 2 types. And definitely prepare to draw your solutions on the physical whiteboard. This is called whiteboarding. And what will usually happen is you'll have an interviewer, and they'll ask you a technical question, something related to code, or ask you to solve a problem like that. And they'll have you draw it up on the whiteboard, maybe write the code. And as you can already assume, whiteboarding isn't a computer. There's no way to run your program. So surprisingly, it's actually not about getting the answer correct, but it's more about your thought process. So when you're doing an interview and you're interviewing for an internship, it's really important to ask a lot of questions and really talk with the recruiter, bounce ideas back and forth. So don't worry about getting it right or wrong. They just want to see how you think, which is really interesting, which is kind of a misconception sometimes. People are like, oh, I got to get this answer right. They're judging how good I am at this. And sometimes they're looking for other things that you might not even be thinking of. So even if you come out of your interview thinking, "Wow, I completely failed that. I didn't know that question at all," you actually might get the job because they might be really interested in the way that you think. And that's just as important as knowing the right information. So down below, I had some resources that you can look at, some books. One of the most popular, probably the number one book, is Cracking the Coding Interview by Lappin McDowell. It's around $30 on Amazon, but I'm sure you can get it used or get it from a friend. But that's a really great option. It's like 600 pages. It's a pretty massive book. But actually, I think it's more. I think it's like 1,000 pages. But it shows you different interview questions and the answers to them, so you can really practice. I know I'm running out of time, but bottom three are just online practice tools, websites that you can learn how to solve different problems that you might be asked in an interview. And this is, since these are online, you can actually run your code and see if you got it right. It's not about getting it right, but if you want to see, like, kind of test your knowledge, and that's a really great option. So yeah, next slide, please. So this is my last slide, but a lot of people think, okay, I just started, I'm a freshman or a sophomore in college, like I can't do an internship. Let me just wait until I have more knowledge and I'm a senior in college. There's so many different programs that are actually meant for people who haven't really done much coding, or are first or second year in college who are new to this. And I've shown them down below here. I was part of the Microsoft Explore program, and I'll quickly touch upon what that is. It's just an internship for freshmen and sophomores in college who are new to computer science, and they offer two different options with that program. You can do program management, and you can also do software engineering. So it's a really cool internship because for half of the program, you're doing one role, and for the other half, you're doing another role. So you're able to kind of learn really learn the different roles that Microsoft has. And we can send this deck out to you guys, but these are some of the other programs that are really, really awesome, and definitely recommend. So I think that was my last slide. If you have any other questions, I think I've missed. Okay, there's several things in the chat. So yeah, sorry, I went kind of fast. I know we have like 4 minutes, but
It's okay. We have a lot of time. We can extend.
Okay.
Good,
Awesome.
good.
So let's see. I will start with Hannah. So Hannah asks, can we connect with you? Yes, absolutely. Please connect with me. I can link you my URL. Also, feel free to add me on like Facebook and other social media accounts like that. I'm totally down to talk more about, getting into the STEM field. So definitely hit me up. Was there ever a time that you got frustrated with coding/programming or CS in general? How were you able to get yourself back on track? I have definitely I've definitely been frustrated with computer science. I cannot tell you, how many times there was a bug and I couldn't solve it, but it was such a simple fix. It took me hours to finish, and those are the most frustrating and difficult times when you're doing CS, because every little syntax and comma counts. But I think, getting myself back on track, I think a really important thing when you're doing CS and you're struggling is to seek help. So no matter what that is, there are online resources and communities, as well as forums, where you can reach out to random people that you've never met before and just ask a question, and someone will be there and know. And asking for help is just so important, because they'll be able to provide you the answer, and you'll be able to form kind of a network of people around you who can help you. And similar to if you're taking a CS class in college, utilize office hours. Office hours, at least at my school, is really underutilized. So no one will go and ask for help, even though there are people struggling. So if you go to office hours, most likely you'll be probably 1 or 2 people there, and you'll kind of get more of a personal tutoring opportunity. So that's a really great way to get help. So that's my most important thing when kind of being frustrated and getting imposter syndrome when doing computer science. Alea Walters, tips on what to put in my website. So yeah, your website can be anything you want. If it's a personal website to kind of showcase yourself and kind of be like a advertisement to show to recruiters, I like to put an intro, and then mostly I'll put all my projects on my website. I will link my LinkedIn and also that personal stuff. So on LinkedIn, there's not so much information about music and other things that I like doing, like tennis. But on my personal website, I'll add stuff like that are totally unrelated to computer science or STEM or trying to get an internship, but just things about me. So when people go, they'll kind of get a more holistic view of who I am as a person, which is also pretty important when you're applying for a job. It's not just about what you know and skill sets and stuff like that. It's also about who you are as a person and what you can bring to the table wherever you end up working at. And I actually do have a personal website. I made it with WordPress because I was super lazy, but I can link that as well. Maybe we'll send out an email after this event, and I can show you my website. But yeah. So. Phoebe asks how to build my GitHub portfolio. So GitHub is a really cool tool. There's some setup videos on YouTube on how to get accustomed to that to the program. But basically, GitHub is for every project that you have, you can make a repository for it, and a repository is basically contains all the code and everything you need to run that project. So every time you have a project, you can put it on GitHub. And you can also, what's really cool about GitHub is it can show your progress throughout making the project. So you can, whenever you add something new to that project, you can what we call commit. And when you commit, that's just another time when you've added something new. And when you commit something, it'll show up on GitHub, on your portfolio. And so people will be able to see the different milestones within each project. So you have, let's say, 3 projects, and for each project, you have commits. And each commit is a milestone in your project. So you can kind of showcase kind of how you got to the end step. So that's a super high level overview of what GitHub is and kind of what it does. To set it up, you'll probably want to watch some YouTube videos or contact me if you want to learn how to kind of get your portfolio set up and profile and all that. But that's generally you just put all of your projects on there. How do I boost my LinkedIn page? I know you can do like a LinkedIn premium thing, which does indeed cost money. If you don't want to do that, what I like to do is make posts on LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, you have your own portfolio or your own profile, and you can also post. It's just like any other social media where you can make a post with a photo or a link. And I know a lot of people will post stuff that they're interested in or find something that they learned and just post about it. And you can do a hashtag, which will kind of add that to that list of topics. And actually, surprisingly, with LinkedIn, things spread much faster. So when people like on LinkedIn, it's going to show up under their connections that they liked your post. And then from there, more people will see it. And then when they see your post, they'll see your profile. And then they'll probably connect with you. You can also, if you want to boost and kind of meet more people, just connect with people. Connect with people who you may not know. I know there's different standards on what you should do in that case. I personally like to connect with people who I don't know, as long as I put a little message and say, hey, my name's Isabel. You can send messages through LinkedIn, just introduce yourself, kind of talk about what you've done and learn more about them and just kind of make a new friend. So that's another way to kind of boost your LinkedIn. Are you an international student? What is your opinion with the new law regarding international students? So I'm not an international student, though I was actually adopted. So I was 6 months when I came to the U.S. But I am a citizen here in the U.S. And my opinion, I think it's kind of crazy. I have no idea. I think this is regarding like how they're making people leave if they're not taking in-person classes at the university. I truly think that's insane. I have no idea why they felt the need to do that. There is no need. It makes no sense. And I'm really hoping that that you can work with your school to kind of get around that. It's honestly absurd. I think the administration is just like freaking ridiculous. Like when it comes to that, it's another wrong decision they've made. Like absolutely crazy. But if there's any way I can help you, please reach out to me. I don't know what I can do, but I definitely want to just offer support in any way that I can if you're struggling during this time. Ashri says, hey Isabel, have you heard anything about the book Element of Programming Interviews? How does it compare to cracking the coding interview? So I've never heard of that book before, but honestly, from the name of it, it sounds pretty awesome. Probably very similar to cracking the coding interview. There are many books like that. The cracking the coding interview is the one I hear people using the most, but that doesn't mean there aren't other ones that are just as great. So definitely check that out. If you find another book that seems more interesting, definitely check it out. How to properly network in LinkedIn. How do you do cold emails? So I need to work on this myself, to be honest. But what you can do is on LinkedIn, you can search for recruiters. So if you type in recruiter, there'll actually be like a little like official like LinkedIn tag next to their name if they're like a recruiter. And so if you go to their portfolio page, you can message them. And from there, you can form your cold email and send it out. Sometimes you won't get a response. Sometimes you will, or they'll redirect you to the website. But the cold email, I really like to make it personal. Some people will copy and paste the template and then put the names in and then just send it off. And people will definitely know if it's a template or it's not personal. So if you're sending a cold email out to a specific person, let's say they work at Amazon, take a look at their LinkedIn profile, see what they've done, and see maybe what team they work on if they've mentioned that, and kind of just talk about how you're interested in what they do and how they got to where they are, and how you can kind of learn more about the company and just make it super genuine because it's pretty easy to kind of see if it's a template that someone just typed out and blast sending it to everyone just to find a job. So it's really important to kind of make that personal connection and mention their name. Don't say hi recruiter. Make it really personal. I think that will definitely really help you stand out because they get so many emails a day that sound like templates. If you can talk about something they've done or point out something that they're really passionate about to make that connection, I think that will go a super long way. Let's see, next question. I'm sure you've worked on a lot of projects. What's your favorite project you made or worked on? Can you share more about it? Also, some tips when working on a project. So I think one of my favorite projects that I worked on was actually last spring. I took my first web dev class, and this was a full stack web development course. So I learned everything from front end UI, HTML, CSS, to learning how to make external API calls to get data and display that in the browser. So for our final project, we made a cocktail website where you can look at all different cocktails and stuff like that. And that was super cool. It would kind of encompass like the full stack web development idea concept. So that was super fun. And I think I did post that on my GitHub. So if you want to take a look at that project, definitely feel free. It was super fun to, kind of list cocktails and kind of showcase like kind of what we learned from that course. Some tips when working on a project. So one big tip I do have for that is sometimes you come up with an idea and you're really excited to learn how to code and you start coding right away and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this and this, and you just kind of start writing code and you don't really go in with a plan. And I think it's actually super beneficial if you are really excited to make a website or something like that, kind of planning it out and breaking it into stages. So perhaps kind of saying, okay, I want to add this feature, and then kind of think of it as like one thing you're going to focus on for that week or day, and then move on to the next thing. So if you kind of pace yourself, then I think that'll really help you stay organized, help you keep on track to finishing it. And I find that, I've run into so many cases where I'm like trying to build something and I'm trying to write different lines of code and I'm solving this bug and that bug, and it kind of gets really kind of difficult. So I definitely think kind of going in with a plan and kind of thinking about what you want to add to your feature and what you think the final product is going to look like, I think will really help. Let's see. Reese goes, what advice would you give to young people pursuing this field? It's kind of difficult to keep up with those more experienced already. Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think, this field is kind of scary and difficult, and I can definitely feel I can definitely understand how you're feeling, where it's a little like you feel kind of lost when people are kind of working on really complex things. When in a more general sense, I think reading articles about what is happening in the world around tech. So sometimes when people are working on something really complex, you might not know some of the terminology and or just kind of like generally what they're talking about in general, like, it might just seem over your head. But if you read articles on what's happening around technology now, just kind of what's going on, like what's the latest, that will help you kind of get into the mindset kind of what is going on right now in terms of tech. And it'll help you broaden your vocabulary. Like certain words like the word API. If you've never heard the word API and someone's talking about it, you don't know what the API means. Therefore, you might not know what the word REST means or things after that. So if you kind of just learn more about different topics, and in a very general case, you don't need to make a project for each concept or anything like that, but just kind of learning about what it is in general, I think will really help you, feel like you're not falling behind with those who are more experienced. And the thing is, though, there will always be people who are more experienced than you, no matter who you are. Like, there's someone more experienced than Bill Gates. I mean, so you're always gonna you might always feel like you don't know as much. And the important thing is, when you feel that way, is to not really feel like you're doing worse, but learning that there's more for me to learn and grow from, and utilize those really experienced people. If you meet someone who knows a lot more than you, ask them so many different questions, and they'll teach you, and they'll help you, and you will then learn more information, and then someone else will ask you, and then you'll be able to tell them, and it's just like a chain of people kind of spreading knowledge, and you'll definitely see that when you get into the field a little bit more. Let's see. Kevin goes, hello. How do you decide what tech stacks are you going to use in a project? Do you pick it based on your preference or on their performance? Also, do you have some tips on how to learn new technologies like a new language or tool in web dev? I'm currently studying a new one and it feels daunting. Haha, thank you. Yeah, so to answer your first question, how do I decide which tech stack I'm using? I like to choose, so quite frankly, I like to choose the one that is more interesting to me, even if it's not used as much, or if the performance is bad. I like to choose the ones that are interesting to me, because again, if you're more interested in something, you're more excited to learn about it, and you're able to feel more motivated to keep going and working that with your project. So I like to choose the ones that's more interesting to me. You can also go down the route with, which stacks are the most popular right now, which ones are the most new, which ones, people haven't done much of. And that's also a great option to go down, because if it's more popular and you're learning something that most people are using nowadays, that might come really handy when you're doing your first internship, because they'll probably be using the same stack that you've been learning all along. So that's also really helpful. So either way, it really doesn't matter what tech stack you use, in my opinion. All of them have their pros and cons, so it's really about what you're kind of interested in learning, in my opinion. Do you have some tips on on how to learn new technologies, like a new language? The way I like to learn something completely new is I will read about it in an article, kind of see what it is, like what is this technology that I'm interested in. Let's say it's I'll use a simple like Angular. Let's say you want to learn Angular. Okay, what is Angular? And then from there, when you kind of learn about what it is and what it offers, what's its abilities, I like to honestly I go onto an online website like Code Academy and see if they have an Angular course for beginners, and I just start from there. I like to start from like a super beginner level. I don't try to like skip ahead and learn what the most advanced part of Angular is. I probably start from the beginning. And it will seem daunting. That's just inevitable. But if you're interested and you're excited about it and you're passionate about it, I think that will really help you kind of move forward. And it's really important, not to get imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome is basically the idea of you're not good enough, or you can't get to where others are. Like, you're feeling kind of down and you're feeling low confidence. And so it's really important. Like, there's so many different programs and different things like that to really help kind of reduce imposter syndrome. And it's something that everyone gets eventually. I face it every day working at Microsoft. Like, there's so many smart people, and I'm just like, wow, like, I don't know, like, am I even meant to be here? And so I really like to meet other people who are feeling the same way, talk about it, being aware of it, and just kind of working on that every single day, and just knowing that's all about learning. And that really helps me move forward if I'm feeling that this is too hard or anything like that. That's kind of my process of conquering that. So thank you for that question. That was great. How is your current internship at Microsoft going? It's going really great. I'm currently on the Word web team working on a new feature, a new visual feature. So it's been super fun. It's my 4th internship. So, and it's weird because it's all virtual. So it's kind of fun being able to take everything that I've learned in the past 3 years and apply it to this, final internship. But I love my manager. I love my mentor. I've been using C#, which is way better in my opinion than C++. That's what I was using last year. They're just 2 different languages, and I prefer C#. So I was really excited when I was told that I was going to be using that this summer. So yeah, it's been really fun. This is a great question, Reese. What's the culture in Microsoft like? So I think one of the reasons why I've really enjoyed my experience at Microsoft and why I keep coming back every single summer is because of their culture. They have such a fantastic culture. Quite frankly, a couple years ago, it wasn't very good at all. But Satya came in, who's the current CEO, and he's completely changed the culture, and it's all about people. So it's all about helping others, utilizing other people's knowledge. So it's so interesting. When you're an employee there, they rank how successful you've been based on how many questions you've asked and how many people you've helped. That's honestly one of the success metrics, which is really awesome because it really promotes people helping other people and asking questions, which is just so important when you're in a field like this because it's very collaborative. It's not like you're coding alone in a corner, writing code and never like going outside. Like it's all about talking with people and collaborating, which is really great. And that's something Microsoft really promotes. And I know at some companies it might be a little bit different and it's a little bit more cutthroat. And that kind of used to be what Microsoft was like a couple of years ago before I joined. But it's been really great so far. So I highly recommend a culture like that if you're choosing between companies. Which is better, on-site internship or remote? Yes, that's a good question. Quite frankly, the on-site internship was definitely the best. They did so many cool internship programs and events for us. They honestly spoiled us interns. A couple of years ago, they gave all of their interns Xboxes, which was super nice, and they brought Pitbull, literally the singer Pitbull, and sang nearby our campus for all the interns. It was super fun, super great. So, and it's a little bit easier to get to know your coworkers if it's in person, like seeing their faces. So that I would definitely say on-site was a lot more better. But remote's also there've been pros and cons. I'm able to take naps in the middle of the day if I need to. So yeah, but definitely I really like the in-person. Let's see. How do you manage work-life balance? I like to kind of be harsh on myself. So the way I manage it is when it's 5 p.m., I close my laptop and I stick it on a shelf and I don't touch it anymore. Even if someone messages me and says, "Hey, I need you to get something done," I'm like, "Hey, you know what? It's 5 p.m. I need to have my own time now." You have to kind of be harsh on yourself for that. Like I'm kind of hard. Like I'm saying, you know what? It's after work hours. Like I'm done. And that's kind of how I make sure I separate the work and the work life and kind of manage that. So that's really important to do. And it can be hard when you have a team and people are depending on you. Sometimes you can't do that necessarily, but I really try not to work after 5 because you shouldn't have to. And if a company is asking you to work till 8 p.m. every day, there's a problem. So definitely make sure that your company is promoting that work-life balance. For internships, what's your favorite so far? I think my favorite so far, in terms of project, I would say it's actually this summer. This summer has been definitely the best summer for projects. I've really enjoyed my project this year. Not as great in terms of meeting other people, but in terms of the work, it's been really rewarding. But in terms of not project, like just in general, I think my second internship was really fun. I was an Explore intern, so I it was the program management and software engineering roles, and it was super fun because I was only a sophomore in college, so that was definitely probably one of my favorites. My project wasn't too difficult. I had a lot of mentorship, so that was kind of like the internship, all about like fun and just kind of like, you know, letting loose at work. So yeah. How do you deal with difficult managers or teammates? Yeah, so that's a good question. I think the closest I've had to a difficult was probably last year. I never really got to know my manager very well last year. So because I never got to know him personally, I just I was always shy around him. We didn't really connect, and it was hard to really communicate honest feedback between each other. So in that way, I actually contacted my recruiter. I don't know if that's the best option, but they had a really great internship program, so I was able to tell people about how I was feeling. You know, it's great if you can find like a little buddy or someone who you can like maybe outside of work, someone who you can vent to, and that kind of helps. But in terms of dealing with it, I think transparency is really important. It's important to say like if there's something that you know you don't like or something that you need help with, definitely ask. Definitely tell them exactly how you're feeling, and that's a very hard conversation to have, but it's really important, and it'll really help you kind of move that blocker. So I guess I kind of had a weird problem last fall. My manager was really interested in having me work, and he didn't want me. I was leaving work a couple times early, and he asked me to change my flight, and I was like, I don't want to work after 6, and I told him like, you know, my work-life balance is like 9 to 5, and I don't really want to work after that. You know, I'm just an intern. So I did tell him kind of how I was feeling. So that's kind of how I deal with those. If there's something a little bit like greater, something that you need more help with, like externally, like ask like someone from HR. That really doesn't happen at Microsoft very often. Like people usually have really great experiences. But if in your case, like if you need help from someone else, like feel free to reach out to someone if you feel like it's kind of a serious matter. But dealing with, just in general, like transparency, which is really difficult, I know, but I think that's a really great way to kind of, that's the only way you're going to move forward if you have those really difficult conversations. So, okay, that was awesome. That was actually my, I think that was the last question, unless my computer is frozen. Let's see. Someone would like to talk. Okay.
Hi.
Yeah, Ruth? Hey.
I just have a question about volunteer experience. So, is it really important to have volunteer experience, and like, what's the importance of that? And could you like give some of the examples of your volunteer experience?
Yeah. So, volunteering in terms of getting a job, like if you're volunteering, so if you want an internship, is this for college? Okay, sorry. Is this for college or trying to get an internship? Or
Trying to get internships.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, volunteering from what I've seen, usually, you know, it's kind of fun to put down on your resume. Like let's say you're volunteering for an organization that's unrelated to computer science. That's great. That you can still put that down, put it at the bottom. But it probably won't be as effective if it's if it's not as something related to your own passions and your own story. So what I mean by that is, you know, I'm really passionate about getting other women in STEM involved. Other women in computer science. And so I volunteer a lot for those kind of organizations. And that's kind of tech related, right? It's kind of teaching people more about computer science, kind of guiding them through the tech industry. And so I will volunteer through those organizations, and that volunteer experience kind of aligns with, at least when I was applying to Microsoft, it aligned with Microsoft's mission, which was empowering everyone, every organization and person on the planet to achieve more. And so because that volunteering experience aligned with that company, I think it had more impact than doing volunteering for a different organization unrelated. But I don't know if it's good to choose. Volunteering in any capacity is really great. So don't choose volunteering based on like if it's, you know, gonna help you. But in terms of, you know, just in general, like I think the ones that are maybe related to the company's mission, if you can find that on their website, might be a little bit more impactful. And it's also a resume. Like when you put that volunteer experience on your resume, it's also forming a story about you as a person. So what I like to say is kind of finding a common theme along your resume. If there's something you're really passionate about, kind of like an overarching theme. So your projects and your volunteer experience and your extracurriculars, like all of that can kind of fall under the same umbrella, if you wish. And for me, that was women in STEM and helping other people get into computer science. And so in that way, it did help. But if you're passionate about a certain organization, like any like a soccer camp and you're volunteering for that, like it's still it's gonna show that you dedicated your time and you're passionate about helping others. So if not, no volunteering is gonna look bad. Just some might kind of help you shape your persona a little bit better if there's like kind of that common theme. So cool. So I think, all right, so it's been about an hour. We went over like 30 minutes. So I think I do have to have another call after this.
It's okay.
Yeah?
It's okay. I think we still got a question here from friends asking what organizations do you volunteer with?
Oh yeah, okay, that's a good question. So I volunteer with like different women in STEM organizations. So Chick Tech. I've done a little bit of volunteering for Girls Who Code. And a lot of my volunteering is mentoring others through my school or through Mentor Match, which is a website where you can go and meet other mentors and just reach out to them. So I'm on their website, so people can reach out to me. So those are mostly the volunteering that I've done. In high school, I did a lot of volunteering at like auctions and galas, which was a really fun time. But recently, it's mostly through those organizations and I guess like my time right now, like kind of volunteering and telling you guys about like, you know, my experience. That's kind of what I've focused on in the last couple of years. So thank you, Isabel. Someone just said
there's some concluding questions.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Is there any question? Okay. All right. So to conclude, let's start wrapping up. What do you know now that you wish you knew when you started your career?
What do I know now that I wish I would have known? I think something I really would have wanted to know was how important it was to do projects and stuff outside of school. I didn't think that was going to be valued that much. Like I focused on schoolwork, I focused on getting good grades, I focused on like doing well in my CS classes, which are all really important. But it wasn't until later on that I started working on my own projects outside of school and you know, doing hackathons. I did my first hackathon like a year ago, so I was kind of late. And so those extracurriculars and those outside of school things are also really important as well. And they really do help shape your story, and they show that you're passionate about like learning and just kind of diving into this really cool field other than like what you're forced to do in college or in high school. So yeah, those are actually much more impactful and I didn't think they were when I was younger. So definitely work on those projects, and they can be simple. It's not about breadth, but it can also be about depth. Like doing one project but making it really great, rather than having a bunch of small, low impactful projects. So yeah, I think projects and just kind of learning more about CS outside of school is also super impactful.
That's very interesting, Sashi. For these projects, you'd suggest that us students would do the same thing, like do more projects in order to get experience and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to get started. You're gonna want that like more instructional experience, like from videos and classes. But really, self exploration is going to help you, I think, the most in the long run. Because when you're in an internship, you're not going to be solving the kind of problems you do on homework. You're going to be solving real life things that are going to require you to ask for help, look up stuff on Google. I look up stuff all the time on Google when I'm struggling with something at work. And those skills that you gain from your projects will really help you. So I think, yeah, it's not about the project itself necessarily and the topic. It's just about learning and that experience of kind of taking initiative when you need help and just that overall experience. So yeah, that's.
All right, cool. All right, to conclude, a final question for today. What question would you have asked yourself in today's interview if you were in our position?
Wait, can you say that? Which question I would ask myself if I was interviewing myself?
Yeah. What question would you ask yourself if you were getting interviewed? If you were interviewing yourself?
Interesting. What do I want? What do I want to learn, and what do I need to learn? That's kind of a fun question. I've gotten that, and it kind of shows like what you're interested in, and also what skills you're working on. Because that question will kind of opens up, like when you say what you want to learn, that can be kind of something fun or in general. But when you say what I need to learn, that actually kind of highlights sometimes a weakness, and that's kind of an important thing to learn from someone is kind of like what they need to work on, and it's kind of a vulnerable question, and everyone needs something to work on. Everyone's learning, and so kind of gaining that from the person who you're interviewing, like would be really beneficial. So, and it also kind of tells you a little bit more about that person. If they say, well, there's nothing I really need to learn. There's a lot of stuff I want to learn, but there's not a lot I need to learn. That kind of shows that they might not be. They're a little bit, naive, or they're not open to finding their own weaknesses, and that's really important to learn to know about yourself.
All right, I thought this question was really interesting. So if any, maybe we can take one last question for anyone who wants to open their video or mic.
Yeah, I'd really like to ask a question. Just real quick. First of all, thank you so much. I'm one of the sort of the founders of Fiesta. I have to say, you have you're really energetic when you talk. You must be really great to work with because you're like very energetic and you talk fast. So I would say like you match your energy level. You must like be also really great to like brainstorm with. Because just the way you are, and you must come up with some really good ideas. So since sort of given your background, just really quick on Fiesta, right? Given that we know we have a list of sort of all the different events with like video conferencing, with like social media elements. What are you just kind of curious on your thoughts on what sort of like how you see Fiesta, and if there's like one or two things that are like, oh, it's cool, but if it had this, it'd be just much better.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think Fiesta is really cool. I had never even heard about it. I don't even know anything like Fiesta, to be honest. So I think it's a really cool product, and I didn't know nothing else like this exists, to be honest. There are, but this is a really special like product. So I've really enjoyed it. I think one thing that kind of caught me off actually. So it's a virtual like video conferencing kind of like app. And what I find is that when I clicked, this is like a super like nitpicky thing, but when I clicked join, I was immediately taken to like the video. Like I was like in it, and I saw my video, and I was like live. And I didn't really expect it, but it was like kind of in the back of my head. I thought that maybe it would prompt me to like another like confirm message or something like that. Because I feel like with like Google Hangouts or things like that, you'll click join, but then, or at least on Teams, I'm like super. I use Teams all the time because it's a Microsoft product and we
Yep.
use. But they said you click join, and then it kind of shows a preview of your video, and then it'll show you the settings that you have, like the microphone, and it's like a super small nit. I don't know how helpful this is, but it caught me off guard when I first saw it. I was like live in it. So that's like my one like little. I think consistency is kind of important when making a product, because if it doesn't align as much as what already exists, sometimes the user experience is a little bit. It's like kind of confusing. But I mean, that's just a super small nit. That didn't really take away from my experience at all. Like I think this is a really cool product. So.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. So that's it. Thank you, Isabel, for coming to the show today. It was a really good experience. It was a really inspirational talk. It was really good. Very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thank you, Isabel. Thank you, everyone, for coming to our event. We hope to see you guys in our next event. And if you guys want to connect with Isabel, you guys can follow our social media pages and Facebook and LinkedIn. We actually tag her in our post there, so you guys can check it out and connect with Isabel.
Yeah, definitely.
Alright.
And let me put my personal email in the chat so you can like add me or chat with me if you need to. And are you gonna send this PowerPoint slide to like everyone? Like maybe that would be really helpful because there are some resources in there that I covered really fast.
All right. Okay. We can do that.
Isabel, would you mind sending us your LinkedIn profile as well, so that people who are watching can connect?
Let me. Okay. I think that's my. Okay, that's my LinkedIn. So.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much.
That's it for today. Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you, Isabel. We really appreciate you coming here, talking with us, sharing your stories, helping a lot of people inspire, doing their best in what they do. So thank you so much. I hope to see you again and connect with you. Goodbye.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Isabel, is it
Oh, yeah.
okay if we post your video on YouTube?
Sure. Yeah, that's totally fine.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, totally. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Coming.
Bye.
Bye.